Hey guys, welcome to the next video in this series, and thank you for joining me. If you're keeping up, you'll remember in my last video I brought to you my highlights from conversations I had with two different website developers in my local area. And they each had different comments and questions and feedback from what we went over. And I've also had some follow-up with that, and I'm going to be bringing the results of that to you here today. Now, if you'll remember, the domain name that I selected for my website is spcgroup.com. Now, if I type that into a URL, this is exactly what it returns. You can see up here in my URL bar, spcgroup.com, I got this. For whatever reason, I was under the assumption that a portrayal such as this meant that it was not actively being used since this website is under construction. And doing a little bit more research on this, the holder of this domain name has had it. It's been registered since 2001, so they have not used this in 18 years. Now, my assumption was that perhaps it was for sale. Could be used, that was ill-advised to try and reach out to one of these foreign registered domain name holders. So without going too much further into that, if you do run into this, if you have a domain name selected and you type it in and it comes up that it's under construction, if it returns anything other than completely invalid, that means that somebody has purchased and has registered that domain name, whether they're using it or not. There might be something of a hefty extortion fee that they want to hold against you if you do want to use that. I was surprised that such a convenient name was available, but it turns out it actually is not. So the first thing I had to do was kind of re-rack my brain and make a decision on that, and over some much greater thought and consideration, I just used name.com to try and identify what is a valid domain name that I could come up with, one that is for use and for sale. You can see spcgroup.com is not, but I have personally identified steelpcgroup.com. When I do a search on this, it says that it's available and it's for sale. Apparently, I can purchase this domain name for $8.99. They're pretty cheap. But anyways, since this is an effective alternative that I've come up with that I'm going to be utilizing. I will also mention that something that's gaining popularity in their options are less conventional suffixes to your domain name. So things other than .com. A lot of you may be familiar with alternatives such as .net or .org. A lot of government agencies use .gov. But really, there's kind of no limit to the suffixes that you can use. You can see down here, I could even purchase for $9.99 steelpc.group. You can do steelpcgroup.tech. And you can see that this list goes on. And there's really almost no limit to the different things that you can come up with. And this is becoming more commonplace as the names and options for any .com or .nets are getting smaller and smaller and smaller as different companies, entities, individuals purchase these domain names for this various reasons. A lot of them, such as spcgroup.com, are becoming no longer available for people that do want to use it. So a perfect substitute that's acceptable is using a different suffix. Now, the older generation user of the internet might find that to be odd, maybe somewhat off-putting, dare I say less professional, but it does, according with my conversation with these two developers, seem to be gaining traction, and in their professional opinion, they think that this is going to become so common in the near future that it won't even seem unusual to anybody to be using different suffixes. Now, it may hinder you a little bit when it comes to utilizing your email addresses with that, because a lot of people will just inevitably put in .com at the end of that, and you'll have to clarify that with your clientele you're trying to communicate if that's something you're going to be using as a different one. But nonetheless, I think it's important that you know that those options are out there. So going a little bit further into this, I did get 3 different links from Ben. I brought to you my conversation with Ben, and we've had some communication back and forth since then. And he provided links to 3 different websites I could look at to identify some templates as a starting point for a website that I'd be interested in utilizing. The first one here is Avada. The next one is Jupiter X. And thirdly, we have Ocean WP. I would strongly suggest that you take a look at any one of these three. They have just a great multitude of different options that you can look at for these different formats of any kind of WordPress website you can think of. You just click on them, it'll open it up, it'll show you mock websites and give you a really good idea as to what it is you're looking at. And you can select the ones that you like and dislike and kind of go from there and sort of narrow it down. So this is Avada. And as you scroll down, you see all these different live tiles. As I hover over them, they kind of interact in some different way and shape. But all these are hyperlinks to mock websites that they've developed. And you can look at either one of these and say, okay, well, I like this about this and don't like that about that. It's important that you identify that you're not restricted to what it is that you're seeing on these. And by that, I mean, if you don't like color schemes, if you don't like content, if you don't like the pictures or how they slide, that really doesn't matter. That's not the purpose of these examples. All of those are going to be tailored specifically to yourself, your needs, and your wants in that website. So if you could look past that and look at the actual layout and the structure of these websites, that's what they're more purposed to kind of give you a starting point when you're working with a developer. So I would actually suggest, if you have not yet communicated with a developer, it might save you a lot of time and perhaps even some money if you started working through these and try to identify some of the things that you're looking for on your website. You can see that there are quite a few options here. I will admit many of them are similar, at least in their structure, but different in their content. But they try and give you visual examples of different industries that you can utilize this in and how that might be presented. So that's how they're trying to tailor that to you. And there are 3 different examples. And I'm going to just kind of save you the time by going through some of the ones that I identified. That I like for my own reasons and purposes. And this would be the first one. I would say that at least in my kind of opening home page, I wouldn't mind having either a video, something that's either moving or is at least interactive, like a slideshow that you can click arrows left and right and view different pictures that are going on about there. But I do like this one in that there's a large graphic photo that consumes most of your window, that's kind of capturing your attention. And this one somewhat really matches at least my format in that it's simplistic in the number of pages it has. It has a home, about us, links, services, and contacts. It's very similar to the layout and the design criteria that I came up with. But it's initially, to me, visually appealing. Maybe that has something to do with the color contrast and the photo that they utilize, but I do like this shape as well. This is unconventional, and the photo that they use, it's got this V shape. It's not just squared. I personally don't like the ones that are quite so blocky, and there's a multitude of those ones out there. This one identifies itself a little differently by utilizing that shape. I like that it has graphs. I'm kind of a numbers guy myself, so some optics, some visual representations of different numbers, whether that's percentages or bar charts or at this point a point graph or anything of that nature that depicts important information that you want to project to your customer base. I appreciate. So I like that that's there. I like these interactive tiles for the different services. My company is going to be providing a multitude of different services, and not every one of them is necessarily going to be of an interest in any one of my clientele, but I think each one of them needs a fair amount of description to support those so they can identify what those are and how to utilize them and if they are interested in it. And this one is very cool because it really, I just feel like it kind of focuses your attention on the information specific to any one of these that you're wanting to learn more about. And it's got a link to some other part of this website, a different page perhaps, in which you can learn more about that if you so choose. But it gives you also all of your different options, service options right here. So it's letting you see some that maybe you didn't even consider. And I just personally kind of like that. And I liked those things about this website, if nothing else. You do have some social media links down here and things of that nature, but I did relate and identify with this website layout, and I did like it. The next one I looked at, again, this is from Avada, so there's just a mock. This is a fake law firm, but they have this video in their homepage that really captures your attention. And if you recall some of the conversation I had with one of the developers out of Chico, he said that the amount of time that any visiting person it actually spends on your website is how Google registered whether or not it's a hit or a miss. And I believe that I'm trying to remember, I think it was 3 seconds or 10 seconds or something of that nature, that if they stay on your website for at least that long, that means it was successful. Somebody engaged with your website long enough that it counted as a hit, which will actually boost your rating. It will help you climb the ladder in terms of a search engine result. And I feel like having this video was a little bit attention grabbing. It's somewhat encapsulating. Even if you're not reading else what's going on, it's kind of using more of my time and focusing me on this website, which is very, very useful. It looks kind of professional to me, and probably that has to do with the content of this particular video, but I did like it. But nonetheless, I like how it's categorized, just at least some specific information. Again, I provide a multitude of different services. This one's a little interactive as well, as you can click on these different things and they'll take you to different areas. They identify some of their practice areas and publications. That doesn't necessarily apply to me. But I did like, this one's interactive as well. You can look at their international and partnerships and excellence and this, that, and the other thing. But I did kind of like this website, if nothing else, for this interactive, or it's not interactive, but for this video here at the front. It was capturing my attention, and that's exactly how I want to capture the attention of anyone visiting my website, and I appreciated that about this mock one. And thirdly, and interestingly enough, this is a mock website from Avada for a construction company. But there were things I did and also didn't like about this particular website, and I kind of melding some of these together. I don't think any one of their examples was exactly what I'm looking for, and that's going to be the case and probably the same for you. So just kind of look at all of their different options and point out what it is you do and also what it is that you don't like, so they make sure not to make those mistakes. But this one, I did like this big open picture that's right here. I, again, would personally kind of like something more of a slideshow to that effect. But I liked that in a multitude of ways, this one is trying to get you in contact, communication, pricing with the customer. There's a get a quote link up here. There's one right up front, and there's another one right here. So 3, just very, very early on, is trying to get you in communication with them so they can price something out for you and get you involved with at least starting the communication of whether or not you want to utilize their services. And I'm trying to draw on that customer base rather immediately, at least effectively, through my website. So I liked that. But it is kind of square. I wouldn't mind having something like the shape that was shown on the other one that's right here. They have the same interactive tiles. I like this color scheme better. So that kind of helps me identify with that as well. Again, I wouldn't be locked into yellow and black per se with a white background, but I really like this. I find this to be effective. Again, all these get a quotes for different services. And that would be precisely what I'm looking for. I do a variety of things. Perhaps you're not looking for all of them, but if any of them, learn more about it and get in contact with me to get a quote. So I find this to be very effective if I was a user of this. So I do like this one. I like that they have some visual depictions of some different metrics right here, right? There's these fake numbers, 3,534 planning applications and 172 trained professionals, blah, 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 blah. I do like that, but I find it to be very effective. What I do not like, however, is this rounded kind of edging they have to their photos, how it goes in and it really narrows the picture, and I personally actually can't stand this. I don't like that. I preferred the larger photo of, let's say, the opening of this first website that we looked at, how it consumes more of the space versus the less of the space of this one. And I don't like the round curvature, but that's just me. And that is a simple change that I can let my developer know of. Hey, I'm looking for this and not that, and they can incorporate that into this. Otherwise, they have some great architectural photography of some buildings or some recent work or past projects they've worked on that capture the attention of their customer base. And again, they have some links to learning more about that, and I do like that. That's going to be helpful for the different clientele that I'm trying to bring on board, be that engineers, architects, or contractors. They all have different perspectives and things that capture their attention. I can utilize that here. I like this particular layout. They can identify core values or team members or different services or strengths or experience or whatever that happens to be. It doesn't have to be particularly these items, but I like the color differentiation and its own segmented part of your homepage, and it really brings this information forward and identifies that. And this is kind of a selling pitch to your customer, or I'm sorry, your business, and why your customers are going to be interested in utilizing you over anybody else. or anything of that nature. So I really actually do like this layout. It's just this curvature to their photos that I'm not fond of, but that is a simple change that it can be incorporated as long as I let my developer know that. They can help me along with that and make those changes and make a website that I'm more keenly interested in. So now that I've got this pretty much identified as a template of my interest, the next thing that I did was I looked at some other websites of companies in this industry, in my industry, those that engage in business of this type, just to kind of see what sort of content, whether that be textual or photos, whatever kind of graphics it is that they're utilizing in theirs. To see what I'm assuming is the time and investment they've put into finding what's effective for theirs. So I started looking at some of the larger structural steel fabricators that I'm aware of. This one being one of them, W&W AFCO Steel. And much to my surprise, I find this website to be very unimpressive, just in my opinion, in its particular layout. I don't like the formatting. By that I mean kind of the ratio of this photo, this graphic, in relation to the size of this window. Right, it's really small, and its transitions from one photo to the next is somewhat unusual in my opinion, and granulated. It's not particularly good. I find I don't know, and all this is based on opinion, but. Right, it's all very small text, and I didn't really like their fonts and this, that, and other thing. It doesn't really capture my attention. Right, this is an impressive photo of a tall building that perhaps they did, but it's so small in relation to the rest of all of this wording, this verbiage that I'm not terribly interested in reading and things of that nature. But anyways, I'm not here to be too terribly critical of their website and bring that to your attention as much as I found this to be actually not so very useful, despite the scale and the prowess of this company that I'm familiar with. Another one is this is another fabricator in our area, Metalworks, and just kind of looking at theirs, I found this website most peculiar in that it took me quite some time to actually find the links, short of this window right up here, to the different pages, but they're actually down here. So I didn't see that, so that would be a formatting issue. I wasn't particularly I didn't like it. It's not anything that I liked, but it was another thing that was somewhat confounding was with all of their different links come more links. There's like 100 different pages in this website, and subsets of those pages. And you just saw, I clicked on one of the first 5 that pops up, and that sent me to a list of quite a few other ones that they do. And it kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I found this one to be very difficult to navigate. So this helped me identify one of the things I would find important in my website, and that if I'm going to have different pages that have different content for their own different reasons, it needs to be easy to find. Otherwise, it's not useful, and I feel that its purpose from a user's perspective is just not there. It's totally lacking. It was something of a wasted effort. Another very large and well-known fabricator. I looked at their website, and they have, I would say, some work to be done. They have this scrolling, very low pixel granulated video in the background. It's hard to depict what it is you're even looking at. Everything is in caps, all caps across the board, and every page. Their font choice is less than ideal. I'll leave it at that. It just looks very low budget to me, and I know that that's not necessarily the projection of this company in the industry. So I was surprised to find just how unappealing I found their website to be. So as you can see, I'm already 3 websites into this search, and I kind of found that to be interesting. Now, this is one of the largest fabricators in the country, and I think they've done much more justice to their website and the work that they've put into it than perhaps the other ones we've looked at this far. These are all projects they've done. This is the Wilshire Grand, very, very large project that I know that they've done, and they bring some metrics to your some statistics, some numbers, some information. They qualify their years or experience or capabilities in terms of the tons of steel they've fabricated, how many square footage they have under roof at their fabrication facilities, projects completed, things of that nature. And I was looking for some of that as well. So I kind of liked their information provided already. I like this one. I find it to be a good example. They have a link to a YouTube video that kind of gives some greater insights to their capabilities and past projects and things of that nature. They have a scrolling client testimonials list, and they have some of the largest general contracting names on here, right? They have recommendations from DPR, very large general contractor, Turner Construction, one of the largest general contractors, McCarthy, again, very large general contractor, things of this nature, Swinnerton, Manhattan Building, right? Anyways, you may even see some of the similarities of the particular layout and format of this website to some of the ones I was identifying for myself. So I feel like I'm on the right track, and I did like this one. I appreciated this website, and I liked it. But that also made me think, I'm not just looking at and for structural steel fabricators and things of that nature, but I'm also appealing to general contractors and architects and engineers. So what do those types of clients put in their websites? How do they format theirs? I feel like that'd be a depiction or representation of themselves and their own interests and how they're attracting their clientele. So I looked at theirs. So I went to Turner's website and the text is very small. It's kind of hard to read. Not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not very much in your face. It doesn't capture your attention, any one of these particular links or pages or anything of that nature. I was a little surprised by that. But be that as it may, it wasn't a terrible website, and I can see some of their photos, and they definitely focus on the types of projects they can do and have done and their scale and ability. And they have a lot of information about different industries and types of buildings that they can procure and their ways of doing so, their engineering services and how they can more cost effectively accomplish certain tasks and things of that nature. So theirs is much, just by looking at under their experience tab, the number of different pages they have developed, theirs is very heavy on the content and over a multitude of different industries and platforms of potential clientele and the types of facilities they're looking to construct. And it must be effective for them because Turner's a very, very large general contractor. Another one I looked at is McCarthy's. They have this neat video, right? If you're going back to this law firm one that we looked at, that mock-up, that had the kind of moving video. And I think this proved to be effective, like what I was looking at in the law firm one, and this captures your attention. This keeps me on their website. If nothing else, I'm going to finish the video, right? I'm kind of interested in what's going on here, showing different construction work and people working together and things of that nature. So I found it to be effective and that it got my attention right off the bat, which is important for a marketing tool as potentially effective and as costly as your website. They have effective links that are grabbing your attention to go to different areas, learn more about them. Perhaps you want to see some of the projects that they've done and learn more about those, and things of that nature. So they have different parts and pieces of their homepage that give you different points and links and references and content, so you can learn more about what it is that you want to know, maybe things you didn't already know about them. They do have these tiles here about this is something of you can incorporate. It looks like they're using Twitter to keep their like almost a live feed on their homepage about what people are saying from or about McCarthy. They talk about some of their innovative work and what sets them apart and things of that nature. But anyways, I actually really liked their website, and it showed some of the things that I liked about the templates that we looked at here. I like that it had the moving video like the fake law firm does. I like that it fills up most of the homepage area like this first one we identified did, right? And I like that it has these tiles and some specific layouts of different things that set them apart from some of their competition and things of that nature. I felt like the wording and the photos were not obnoxious, but they were large. They captured your attention, but they were also succinct in their purpose. So I very much liked it. But anyways, nonetheless, these are some of the things and the processes that I went through to kind of help actually evaluate and start to conceptualize for myself and in my mind and have discussions with my developer of my own website, how I want it to look, and its layout, and just even the shape of the photos and the content that's in there. Every website is new and different in its own way, and you're employing somebody to try and put your ideas and your opinions on a page that you're paying them to develop for you. So your communication, your feedback, your criticism to them and communicating that effectively is really the only way that you're going to get the website that you're looking for. So it's your due diligence and doing this research, looking at these templates, going to Avada, going to JupyterX, going to these different places and trying to identify this information for them so that they can produce the website that you're looking for. That's the process you're going to want to do and go through. I hope it's at least some part of looking at how it is that I was able to accomplish that was helpful or beneficial to you. Maybe you're going to do it in a different way, but nonetheless, understand that there's a process to this. And as always, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, I would encourage you to post those to the bottom of this video, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.